AI Realized, the podcast about everything that is new, now, and next for enterprise executives deploying AI. Hosted by myself, Christina Elwood, and my collaborator, David Yakubovich.
Our guests will share what's driving AI adoption, use cases, and business models for the data and AI economy.
Why the future is bright. Why the future is bright.
Welcome to the next episode of AI Realized, the podcast for enterprise executives leading AI deployments. From addressing security, data, and operations challenges to managing organizational and management changes, AI deployments present the opportunity to redesign our organizations from the inside out. In this episode, we will talk about what's new now and next with Allan McLennan, the founder and chief executive of PADEM Media Group. Allan, welcome to AI Realized.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina.
Allan, you're a longtime media and entertainment executive, and you have worked in many aspects of the industry, including being an analyst. I'm interested in, as an analyst, what your top level views are about the impact and the potential of generative AI for the industry.
Well, when it comes down to, from an analyst perspective, it really comes down to efficiencies and how AI can help create better economic efficiencies and production efficiencies going forward. That has been a massive uptake within the industry as a whole, trying to leverage that to improve different types of projects and those different types of products moving things forward. That said, that has also been one of the crippling things that have been happening within the industry as a whole. Because once you move into the economic efficiencies of an AI enhanced environment, you start looking at perceived economic improvements. And from that perceived economic improvements, it doesn't really happen right away. It's down the road. So we're also going into a period of time when there's a considerable amount of layoffs, a considerable amount of impact of individuals and people's livelihoods, all on the thought that it's going to be picked up in the back end with the efficiencies of AI. So we're right at a moment of evolutionary issues that are coming into play, and that is taking center stage when it comes to from an analyst standpoint. AI is good and great, but what really is the impact when it comes to most livelihoods that are reliant on the different executions and disciplines that have gotten the industry to this point in time?
Well, I remember hearing Brian LeCamp's presentation of Paramount Global, his presentation at South by Southwest recently, and his take was that studios are content creation companies, and when you give them the ability to become more efficient, they create more content. So he sees it as a way to have an increase in the volume of product rather than a way to decrease the labor and lay people off. Do you subscribe to that perspective, or do you think it's a combination?
Well, it's the same thing, really. The ability to create more content is really the underlying need that's currently in the marketplace, because the SAG-AFTRA strike really crippled the overall industry as a whole by reducing the pipeline by 2/3. So there's just not that much. And yes, the companies, as I know Brian well, as you know, and when it comes to Paramount, he's one of those that is no longer in a position. His experience is exactly that there's a refinement of lowering debt and lowering expenses that are going forward in the industry as a whole. But he is absolutely correct that the studios in themselves are production facilities. They create content, they create programming that we watch and see, as well as the broadcasters in their live programming, which is the number one area for generation of activity and need for more efficiencies. Broadcast, but let's not forget what the studios have are vast libraries of content that they intersperse that content into the new content. And that comes into what I was mentioning before and during our panel at AI Realized is the impact of AI on localization, languages, dubbing, that kind of shaping. It's all around the same thing Brian said is yes, it is to create new content, but that content creation is now coming into the realm of cutting expenses that drive that content creation. So there is that component of it. I'm not negative on it. Please don't take me wrong on that. That's just the efficiencies of the economics of the studios as a whole.
So metadata is a really important both cost factor and an important element in commercializing content. Can you talk a bit about how generative AI is impacting metadata and the use of metadata?
Well, metadata is the lifeblood of everything in the entertainment industry. Every moment that is being created or shared has a metadata tag that's attached to it. And so without metadata, you really don't know where you're going or what you're doing, what you're hearing. It's just really key. And so, way generative AI is able to assist on that is exactly what generative AI does, and that is it is able to tap into every one of those tags that are currently that are a process of the metadata, and are able then to take that and then assimilate that into whatever end result that you may want to create and may want to be able to provide. Let's just face it. One of the things that truly exists within the overall industry is anybody can do this, anybody can create it, anybody can copy it, anybody can attach their um, uh, premise for creation to any piece of content, whatever it might be. The only way that you can actually recognize it, that it's yours, that it's the studios, that it's the producers, it's the creative, is through the metadata. And the metadata not only assists generative AI in what is created, it also secures the content and what is right and what is verified as far as the creator and the distributor of the content. I want to say one thing is that when it comes to that, anytime that any piece of content is altered in any way, shape, or form, it becomes a new version. And this is what we're very aware of within the industry, because when you create a new version, you potentially put at risk your copyright of that material. And the only way that you can track that is through metadata.
I see. Okay, so it's a formative tool for managing this very critical data set. Now, when it comes to fake content and identifying fake content, I know you've done some work recently at a IBC accelerator around developing a POC of a product that can identify fakes. Does that rely on metadata for that identification?
Heavily, heavily relies on all of that. And I'll just give a quick precursor on what we're talking about here. IBC, the International Broadcasting Conference in Amsterdam every year, puts together about 6 to 8 different kinds of projects that are challenging towards the industry for what is perceived the coming year. I was fortunate enough this last year to come up with an idea that said, basically, how can we all get along and identify what's fake and what's real? News is the number one revenue generator for all the broadcasters, for all the networks. So being first out with news, being, the one with a breaking story to gain viewerships is the underpinnings of the entire category. So to get everybody to work together on trying to solve this issue and then alert their editorial staff that this potentially is faked, and it came from another network, giving them the heads up, was really what we were starting to work on in year one of this accelerator project. The good news on that accelerator project is with the champions as myself, CBS News, BBC News, Al Jazeera News, ITN, which does 6 broadcasts of news in the UK, and multiple more, up to 20 different broadcasters and broadcast networks around the world, are all behind this effort of trying to work together on addressing the 34 million fake news stories every day that's out in the marketplace. Something that cannot remotely be touched by the human editor or the human teams. It has to be identified through a mapping process, a verification process. That is part of the initial product. And the initial product then was looking and working with organizations, companies around the world, interestingly, predominantly out of the Nordics, for whatever reason, that had very good handles on how to identify fakes. And this is in consortium with another alliance within the overall industry called C2PM, C2TA, which is an organization that Microsoft and Adobe have put together that really focuses on verifying content. And when you put all of this together, it isn't just one product that will solve this. It's a unified effort of different products that weave together to better manage this issue when it comes to fake representation. It is everywhere, Christina. It's astounding. The biggest questions that exist right now that we have as a society, interestingly enough, when we watch something, whether you say it or not, your first thought now, sadly, is it real? Is it true? Then you watch it, then you engage with it. And that's the gating point that we are today in the marketplace that we're at. And as we know, through the US elections, it's been rampant out in the marketplace of deep fakes and misrepresentations and disinformation. So yes, the IBC accelerator groups really are heavily focusing on this, and we've been fortunate enough to be identified as taking this to the next level this coming year. So there's going to be even more information that we're now going to all collaborate in looking at how to better solve this. And this time next year, there will be an overall recommendation of how to do it.
So generative AI was used to create a lot of those fakes. Are you using generative AI in this initiative to identify them and flag them and to let broadcasters know when they may be dealing with fake information?
The vendors that have the software platforms that are currently being integrated into this overall solution do use generative AI in their problem solving, yes, and their visual mapping of the different entities. It's a very key component. Like what I said before, it's like there's 30. Just as an example, there's 34 million deepfakes a day. There's no way anybody could possibly address that without being able to have some sort of technical assistance. And so, yes, it's a very big component of what we're doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of good sense. What other exciting things are you involved in that use any form of AI, generative AI or otherwise, that you feel are game changing for the media and entertainment space?
Well, we had that conversation at AI Realized in the panel with Megan Mock and Brian LeCamp, as well as Blake Bassett. And, all of that is coming into how you can best manage content and how you can make content readily available for viewing audiences, which comes down to personalization of content. That I'm finding to be very exciting. Now, personalization of content has been around for decades, but now with generative AI, we're actually being able to, on an ongoing basis, see that viewer's interests on any given moment, and that the provider can serve up that content that they have interest in, and that will fit well. Now, one of the more interesting things is, as the industry as a whole, that I'm excited about, it's just moving towards this. Of course, it's nothing new when it comes to commercially supported television, but within the streaming worlds, it's all about free advertising supported television, FAST. And so in there is the um, you know allowing for the segmenting of programming into areas that commercials can be then inserted. Now, where that stands today is just wherever they want to traffic that content in. And that's nothing really different than in years past. And also the anger that goes along with it. It's like people have gotten used to watching long form content without kind of interruption. So the current fast platforms are having challenges because they're presenting it as this kind of information that they can put 6 commercials in, sometimes 8. That's 4-minute breaks, like within these offerings from Tubi to Pluto. Not all of them, but some are that long that they put into it. Whereas in fact, you lose audience when it comes down. There is a new technology that is being RMT that's being developed within a couple different alliances, shall we say, within the advertising community and the broadcasters, that are identified that if you can understand what the viewer likes, not only from their content, but also from what their purchase behaviors are, yes, we've got to that point where that viewer, the industry knows what they bought, where they bought it, how much they spent on it through the associations with the credit card companies. So all of that's now coming into play from understanding that viewer. Now, when you're able to take that same content, that same advertising content, and moderate that content to a point where, hey, that commercial fits that viewer, boom, that commercial can be then inserted into that stream, and there's comfortably a 38 to 40% greater chance that that viewer will find that engaging and will embrace it to the potential of purchasing it. And they will stay with it and not leave the program. And so I believe what we'll start to see is this evolution of, shall I say it, intelligent commercials we've had it for a long time. We've had it on our zip code registries and watching cable companies, and they've been inserting content into your demographics for a long period of time. But now that the viewer has gotten used to having long form content without interruptions, you've got to figure out how to best have them engage with and embrace the advertising that they're seeing if they choose to watch them during the breaks. That's really interesting. If you can start understanding that person's behavior and interest enough that you can associate two pieces of advertising that can be compelling to that person enough to 40%, let's just say 50% of the time buying that commercial, you reduce the number of ads that have to be in that break because you're now targeting commercials for exact behavior and interest. That's a big change. That's generative AI in assimilating all that information and bringing it to a particular point from a measurement and a distribution standpoint.
I see. Okay, so you're forecasting that we are going to have better identification of fake news, and we're going to have ads that are not so annoying because they're actually things that we're interested in our streaming, ad-supported streaming content. Is that correct?
Well, number one, take a breath. Don't hyperventilate on feeling that you're missing something and that you're falling behind, because you're not. The industry is moving very fast, it's true. But those are new ways of identifying and trying to apply new solutions to, not so much be correct solutions. So at this time, really take your time, be open, Start learning. More importantly, don't stick your head in the sand, and understand that the more that you know how to better utilize this tool, the better you're going to be moving forward. It's not a problem with the tool itself you have right now. It's the problem is the person that knows more about it than you do. And so the more that you understand how things work and interact, the better you're going to be in a position to be able to counsel, to be able to guide, and better yet, be able to lead in the needs that you have within your companies and within your community.
Okay. Well, thank you. If I'd love to give you a chance to leave our listeners with your thoughts about the things that they should be alert to and things that they should be looking into to learn more about in the coming months as AI changes so rapidly. There's so much going on. What would you guide people to do to stay on top of the changes and be alert to new innovations?
Uh, a favorite one? No, not really. I really like the fellow from AI Realized. I got on his list, and what's his name? He did the keynote at the beginning.
Paul Beyer
Um,
of GAI
Paul
Insights.
Beyer. I have found Paul Beyer's. I wasn't aware of it prior, but he's much like me. He's kind of just figuring things out, and as he figures something out, he's sharing it. And I found that way versus just an editorial process to be more impactful for me at this time. So if I may, I'd like to give Paul a plug because Paul's insight and understanding is as better than anyone else in the marketplace because he's living and being and breathing it. So I really appreciate Paul.
I do too. I read his or the GI Insights daily email faithfully to have them highlight for me the articles that are essential, important, and optional for me to read about the technology. I also attend whenever I can their learning labs, their meetup learning labs, which they hold every Monday, which I also really enjoy. And they, of course, do a lot of articles. They've got a number of articles in Harvard Business Review, and they post a lot on LinkedIn. So, yeah, I enjoy their content very much as well. So, thank you for that recommendation for our listeners.
I'd also add, if you have the financial means to be able to subscribe to, is in Substack. And Substack has some very interesting um, writers that write every day on this subject matter and that you can find. And if you're in the media and entertainment industry, there's one de facto one. It's called Ankler, Ankler, which is really does a good job of covering Hollywood and the issues that are facing us on a daily basis.
Well, thank you very much for that. Allan McLennan, founder and chief executive of PADEM Media Group, thank you for taking time to talk with me today on AI Realized.
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate the opportunity and hope I was of some value.
Why the future is bright.